Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing one of my all-time favourite decks, Dredge. Now, the reason I like this deck is because it plays Magic in a fundamentally different way. It sort of shows you how, with some of the things that Wizards have printed over the years, you could end up with something that plays in such an abstract fashion compared to a normal game of Magic, and I think that's beautiful. So what is this deck aiming to do? Well, if you're not familiar with Dredge, let me just show this to you. So when you have something with Dredge in your graveyard, instead of drawing any card when you would draw a card, you can replace that draw by dredging this. So you put this into your hand and you mill whatever the dredge number is. So this is 6, this is 5, and this is 4. So the aim of our deck is to put one of these cards into our graveyard and then draw some cards. And instead of drawing cards, we flip over things into our graveyard. So there'll be things like Bridge from Below, which allows our creatures, when they die, to make zombies. Narcomoebas, which are creatures which come back. Ichorids, which are creatures that come back. Hogaak, this is a creature we can play from our graveyard. Cabal Therapy, which is something we can use to sacrifice our creatures for Bridge from Belows, as well as messing with our opponent's hand. This is also something that we can cast on our turn, targeting ourselves to get a Dredger in the graveyard, so it can kind of enable things. But it's also just some way of ripping apart your opponent's hand, and because you can put loads of cards in your bin and get some creatures out quite quickly, you can sometimes just strip somebody's hand as early as turn 1 or 2. And they'll have like nothing left to work with. So we've kind of separated this out into things we're trying to put in the graveyard. Our dredgers, which we do want to put in our graveyard as well, but these are things that put stuff in our graveyard when we do draw effects. And then our enablers. So Lines Like Diamond being the most potent of them, because this allows us to discard our hand on turn 1 and possibly Faithless Looting, or what you can normally do is cast a Careful Study and then crack your Lines Like Diamond in response and then get all your stuff back that way. And if you find the Faithless Looting, you can then flash it back. Breakthrough is another one. For 1 mana, you can draw 4. So if you've got Golgari Grave-Trolls, you can dredge 24 cards. So that's pretty good. And this is a recent addition to the deck, which is some Griefs, which can pick apart your opponent's hand a little bit, but they're also a black creature to exile for the Ichorid. So that's pretty much it. We got Putrid Imp, which is one of these cards that comes in and out of these lists. But we're going to try it today. I haven't played Dredge for a little while. This is one of the decks that I've sort of used to play a lot quite a few years ago. I really like it. We've also got 1 Lotus Petal as mana, which can sometimes just speed us up a turn. So like we can cast 2 like Faithless Looting effects in 1 turn sometimes, that sort of thing. The other land to note is Cephalid Coliseum. This lets us draw 3, discard 3 if we have Threshold, which is something that we want to have as often as possible. So this gives you 3 more draws, which can give us 3 more dredges, which can put loads of cards into our graveyard. It should be noted that our mana base is quite painful, but the idea is that we're basically making the game 1 in the first 2 or 3 turns of the game. So I'm making a huge zombie army, that sort of thing. Alright, that's pretty much it for the main deck. One of the reasons I wanted to play Dredge as well is that the initiative deck has flattened the meta, basically. So a lot of the meta is kind of gone, what we used to have now. Like, all the control decks are all like shredded. We've basically just got some combo decks. We've got Delver and we've got Initiative. For the most part, that is what the meta looks like now. Which means that the graveyard hate that people are packing is very condensed. So we see a hell of a lot of Leyline of the Voids. Well, like we're playing them as well, because Reanimator is like number 3 deck, I think, in terms of percentage share. And there's also Echo of Eon's decks, which can try and get in underneath the initiative and stuff. So Leyline of the Void is just really good graveyard hate, and it's the most popular graveyard hate being played right now. Which means Wispmare is very good. So if you're not familiar with Wispmare, it's a 3 mana 1/3 flyer that blows up an enchantment when it comes into play. However, it has Evoke for just a white mana, which means that we can play this for 1 mana through a Chalice of the Void, because it's still a 3 mana spell, and blow up a Leyline. And if we already have like a Bridge from Below or something in play, we can get a zombie off of it when it dies. That doesn't really happen that often, but you know, some things can happen. But so we're going full into 4 Wispmare, because we're just looking at what everyone's board. And like even Elves, a lot of them have just switched to Leylines instead of Endurances now. So this is what we're going for. We can cast it off of most of our mana sources, but not our Coliseums. So there is a cost to this, but I think this is good. We don't have any artifact hate. So the only artifact graveyard hate that is seeing play is 1 Grafdigger's Cage in some of the Delver sideboards. So that's a very, very narrow amount of of Graveyard Hate to dodge. So we're just going to try and dodge the Grafdigger's Cage from Delver, and sometimes it works, sometimes it won't, but I think that's pretty reasonable when we've got Griefs and Cabal Therapies, and if they're mulliganing to it, that's probably not a great plan for them either. They don't have many turns to deploy it. So we could get caught out there by not having any actual artifact hate, but we're running this and seeing if it goes. Now the other form of Graveyard Hate is Endurance or Soul Guide Lantern. That's really common. So what we're going to be doing is playing these ley lines, which are also really good against some of the combo matchups. So anyone trying to, like, Tendrils of Agony us, they're going to have to deal with our ley line as well first. So this should just give us a little bit more time to assemble lethal and get them that way. So that's kind of why we've gone very much into the 4 ley lines, 4 Wisp-Mares, and the last card down here is Firestorm, which is something that we can, against creature matchups, we can replace one of our draw effects. Most notably, if you look, we have 3 of these, and we have 3 breakthroughs. So breakthrough is obviously worse post-board in a lot of matchups because it's very all-in. So depending on which matchup, this one can come out, or we can board out the Putrid Imps or whatever. But we board out basically one of our enablers for these Firestorms, and we let our opponents deploy a couple of things, and then we nuke them all. And then we just start our chain there. So we can sometimes go slightly slower on the Firestorm. And because people are trying to play things out turn 1, this should hopefully be quite good at that. One thing I will say about the breakthrough is because it's an X spell, we can cast it through a chalice by putting more mana into it, although we don't have a lot of mana sources in our deck. So we'll often be operating off of 1 or 2 lands. That's pretty much it. We've embedded a new weakness in our deck in terms of not being able to remove artifacts, but we have made our deck a lot more robust against the most important Graveyard Hate at the moment in Leyline. So that's what we're trying to achieve here, and we're just going to make some big guys and do some dredging. Make a load of guys and get it going. So sometimes these builds will have Dread Returning or Ox of Agonis. These are things that we have gone without today, but we're going to see how this plays. I do love a bit of Dredge, and I should probably play it more on my channel because it makes me nostalgic, but it should be noted that this deck isn't great right now, but that means people aren't necessarily that prepared for it, although, like we just said, they have ley lines and stuff. But it's one of those decks where if you pick your spot and you do and you sort of run as the right matchups, you can just crush people with Dredge. Not as much as you could back in the day. But anyway, so that's what we're playing today, and I'm hopefully going to have a great time with it. But before we do that, it's plug time. Likes, comments, subscribe. These things cost you nothing and help me out. And why wouldn't you want to help me out? I'm making all this wonderful Legacy content. All right, let's jump into a League of Legacy with LED Dredge. So we've lost the draw here. We've lost the dice roll, but we have one of those hands where we get to go Faithless Looting, crack lines our diamond in response, and we can hopefully dredge like 20 or so cards in one turn quite easily. So let's keep this and see if we can do the dream. A turn 1 chalice would be bad, but okay, so we have this Ichorid. Let's cast this lines our diamond and see if this resolves. A Force of Will, pitching Murktide Regent, sure. So other option there was to Cabal Therapy first. So we're going to be discarding some cards here and having a great time by the looks of it. We'll discard these 2. We found another Lines Eye Diamond. So we're going to put our graveyard up here so we can see what we're doing. Let's make triple red. Flash back our Faithless Looting. Stinkweed Imp. Stinkweed Imp. And then we have to discard these 2 Stinkweed Imps. Okay. What have we got in our graveyard at the moment? We got an Ichorid. We got 2 Ichorids that we can probably bring back at least one of them. I think if we bring them both back, we can get the Hogaak though. It's going to be worth doing, but we're also going to dredge some more here. Sure. So this one, we get rid of 1 Stinkweed Imp. I think we will get rid of the other Stinkweed Imp. We're due to hit another dredger here. Our opponent is cracking, so they might kill this in response because we don't have any bridges yet. Sure. Does that make me want to get this Ichorid back or not, is the question. I think we get rid of this one. And we'll draw the Stinkweed Imp. We hit a Golgari Thug there. No bridges yet though, so we're not really going anywhere. But we get to bash our opponent for 3 here. Or is this getting lightning bolted as well? Unholy Heat. Sure. So it looks like our opponent is just trying to fuel up for a Murktide, would be my assumption. I think we can beat around in Murktide here. We do need to find a little bit more action. But our Hogaak should be... Okay, an Expressive Iteration. That's not great for our opponent. So the other graveyard hate that some people are playing at the moment is Surgical Extraction. But Surgical Extraction doesn't really beat Dredge. You need multiple Surgical Extractions to beat Dredge. Because we have so many things that do stuff in our graveyard. Now, that's not to say we can't lose games with Surgical Extraction, but I don't think it's worth trying to play around with something like the artifact that means that cards in graveyards can't be targeted. Sure. Another thing you can do against Dredge that I liked to do when I was playing Delver decks was save some of our removal to kill our own creatures and rinse the bridges out. Alright. So it's back to us. We get to dredge Golgari Grave-Troll. Okay, so we've got a grief. So we definitely get rid of the grief here. And then I think we can get rid of a thug here. We just want to be able to make the Hogaak this turn if possible. We've got 2 bridges. Okay, that's pretty good. So we go to attacks first. I think our opponent is dead here. Subtlety. Alright, that's a new one to me. So this is going to remove both of our bridges, which is annoying. Alright, well, we attack them for 6. The other option here was to cast the Hogaak. But like a single Brazen Borrower can deal with a Hogaak. Now, how many Cabal Therapies have we got? We've got 2 Cabal Therapies. So I think we will fire off 1 Cabal Therapy. Now, sacrificing this guy. We're going to name Murktide because that's the quickest clock they can have. Expressive Iteration. So we can sack this guy to hit their Expressive Iteration. I don't hate that. It means we're going to struggle to get bridges going. We've already lost some of our bridges. So I think we will sacrifice this and just name Expressive Iteration because we know it's in their hand. Goodbye, Expressive Iteration. Now, the one issue we have now is we don't have a Dredger. But we can bring back 2... Yeah, we can bring back 2 Ichorids this turn and then bring back 2 the following turn? No. Right, so we can Hogaak this turn. Sure, so this one will get rid of Putrid Imp. And this one will get rid of, I think, the other Ichorid. Faithless Looting. So I think this time we just cast the Hogaak here. So black, black, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Alright. So this time, next time we just get 1 Ichorid back and we swing for lethal. With 2 guys. Our opponent's got 0 cards in hand. Panned out in a bit of a weird way, but I'm down for that. Sure. So we win. What are we going to do sideboard-wise? So the ley lines are good against Delver, just generally. But I don't think that's where we want to be. I think we just want to have our maximum engine and just overload what they're trying to do. The one thing we might want to do is something like Firestorm, because this is an uncounterable way of putting creature cards in the graveyard because it's an additional cost to cast this. So they can't counter this enabler. Also, it can pick off some Delvers and stuff as well. So I would like to have these Firestorms in for this matchup, for the uncounterable nature of them. Question is what we board out here. So the breakthrough is pretty bad versus counter magic. So I think this is just going to be a straight swap for this because Firestorm great against counter magic, breakthrough bad against counter magic because we pop all this, we discard all our hand or whatever, and then they can stop what's going on at that point because we'll only have 1 card available. And we can afford to go slower because they're not going to have like a big graveyard hammer. They have 1 Grafdigger's Cage at most. So we could get punished for our plan, but we did say that from the off. Okay. This hand looks pretty keepable to me. So they start with it in play. If they do, it's going to be a real rough ride for us. A Dragon's Rage Channeler, sure. So this is an instant. So we're going to go Gemstone Mine. Lion's Eye Diamond. Lion's Eye Diamond. So if they had a Grafdigger's Cage, they would play it on turn 1 there. It's just foolish not to. So we're going to wait till our opponent's turn, and then we're going to pop our... because this is an instant, we can do it on our opponent's turn, and we can kill their Dragon's Rage Channeler, which will dodge a possible Force of Negation. But even if it doesn't, we still get to do our thing. We can take the 1 point of damage here. That's not a problem for us. And we'll see if they cast something in the second main phase. Play a Delver. They played a Delver for us. Beautiful. Played another Delver. Oh, even better. Sure, so end turn, we're going to cast this for red. Choose target creature. So you want 1, 2, 3. We want to discard 3 cards here, I think. So we go 1, 2, 3. Now we can pay through a daze here. Force of Will counters this, but we still get our creatures in the bin here. Wowzers, trousers. Sure, so we're not going to get this... what's in our graveyard? That's 2 thugs. We're not going to get the Ichorid back this turn because we only have thugs at the moment. We did not hit our Faithless Looting, but we're going to target our opponent with a Cabal Therapy. What to name here is the question. Do we name the expressive iteration they're hoping to use to pull back? Or Murktide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it Murktide or is it expressive iteration? I think if they want to spend their turn expressive iteration, that's fine by me. Wowzers, trousers. Wish I'd have named the Brainstorm now. Okay, so next turn we would like to name Brainstorm, but they're obviously going to have cards in hand. But we can bring back the Ichorid next turn because we've got Grief in there. Sure, so there's one of the Brainstorms down. Delver Secrets, sure. So they might have just put 2 Delvers on top of 2 Brainstorms on top of their library. So this can get rid of the Grief because the Grief doesn't do anything in our graveyard other than pitch to this guy. And we dredge the Grave-Troll. Many Stinkweed Imps and a Cabal Therapy. We don't have a Bridge from Below, so we don't care about our Ichorid dying, so we can send in the Ichorid here. So we don't care about their Delver. The question is, do we fire off one of these Cabal Therapies right now and name Brainstorm, which we know our opponent has potentially? But if I were them, I'd put both the Brainstorms on top of their library. I think we let this go. So we can pop this on our upkeep for the Grave-Troll, but we've got a Stinkweed Imp. So that 1 extra card is probably not that exciting, to be honest. I think I'd rather keep these in case we mill over any Faithless Looting. So if we mill over 1, we're probably going to mill over another one. So there's going to be a Dragon's Rage Channeler, sure. And the Brainstorm. And they put one of the Brainstorms into the graveyard, so they're all gone now. So they did put them both back on top as I suspected they would. So I'm actually going to remove one of the Stinkweed Imps, just so that if they say to extract us, we still can dredge here. Okay, we hit a Narcomoeba. Yes, I would like to use Narcomoeba's ability. We still can't cast this Hogaak, because you can't spend mana to cast it, which is annoying for us right now. But again, we have no bridges. So we'll send in the Narcomoeba. Not the Narcomoeba, the Ichorid. And then I think we can Cabal Therapy here, targeting them. We'll sacrifice our Ichorid. Okay, they're cracking a fetch land in response. What do we want to name here? Force of Will and Subtlety. So Subtlety is like Force of Will for creatures. So we're not casting a creature spell anytime soon. So I think we can just let that go. Because it's spell, not creature. Yeah, 1 target creature spell or planeswalker spell. What they can do though is they can remove our bridges. So is it worth taking this to stop them moving our bridges this turn? That is a question. I'm not sure it is. Because they need to... Well, they don't need a target because they can just cast it. But if they remove our bridges, it's not the end of the world for us. We are ahead on the race a little bit here. I don't think we want to sacrifice our Narcomoeba yet. Again, as soon as we find a Faithless Looting in our graveyard, we get to sort of go off here. So I think we get rid of the Thug this time. And we dredge the Stinkweed Imp. Really not getting what we want here, are we? So I guess we're going to attack with both of our guys. Sure. Oh, we had a bridge from below, didn't we? That was not very smart of me. Sure. So yeah, we should have been able to cast a Hogaak that turn and stuff. But we made a bit of a misstep there. I didn't actually see the bridge from below in there. Can I make this any bigger? I don't know if I can. Okay. Alright. Take 3 here, go to 10. Our opponent can hard cast Subtlety as well. Okay, so we've got some Ichorid triggers here. So we're going to remove one of our Ichorids to the other one, and then we won't get back the other one. No, we want to get Stinkweed Imp. Okay, so now we're cooking with gas. So this turn we can get rid of the Subtlety or the Force of Will here. Either's fine. I think we want to do that sooner rather than later. So target them, sacrifice our Ichorid here. They're casting Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. So we know they have a Subtlety in hand. That's fine by me, right? We'll flash this back. So they can't counter this with Subtlety. And we'll discard these two. Our Narcomoeba comes into play. How many cards have we got left in our library? 15. How many bridges have we got here? Use Narcomoeba's ability, yes. Let's look carefully this time for bridges. No bridges. So this turn we flash this back because we know we can. So we get rid of Grave-Troll. And we get rid of another Grave-Troll. Discard these, we get 2 Narcomoebas back. This time we have bridges. This game should be over, I think. We Cabal Therapy, targeting them, sacrificing this, get some bridge triggers. They're going to cast their Subtlety here. Oh, they're Mystic Sanctuarying. Interesting. What are they putting back on top? A Brainstorm. Okay. And they're casting the Subtlety, which doesn't do anything. Let's get some guys here. They have no cards in hand, so we'll name +2 mace. Then we'll cast our Hogaak. It's black, black, and then we can just get rid of some lands and stuff here. So this guy comes back. How many Cabal Therapies? We've got another Cabal Therapy here. So cast this with flashback, sacrificing our Hogaak, because we're going to be able to redeploy our Hogaak. Cast this, black, black. This is just giving us the maximum amount of zombies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that feels like plenty good for a turn. So this has got flying, so we're not attacking into this now. We have 3 cards left in our library, so we have three combat steps to win with all of this in play. Brotherhood's End is good for us, good for them here, if they have that. But we get the bridge tokens because it's on their turn, so it's active player, non-active player, I believe. Well, actually, they're all my triggers, aren't they? So I should be alright there. We might have misstacked the triggers before on the bridge. Apologies. Expressive Iteration. So Brotherhood's End is off. This can stop us, if they find a Grafdigger's Cage, it can stop us getting back the, what are they called? Not Ichorids. But we should be fine to win with what we've got in play. Lightning Bolt. Okay, so they can get rid of their, they can get rid of my bridges if they want to. But we can chump block the flyers here. And this gives us more zombies. So they can bolt their Subtlety in response if they want to, or their Delver. No. Ponder, sure. Not really sure what they can find with no mana in hand. Sure, so we got the match there. It was a little bit sloppy at times, I'm afraid. But like I said, our list basically just says if they have a Grafdigger's Cage, they have it, but they didn't. And our Firestorm was excellent on turn 1. And we also showcased the fact that it discards cards uncounterably. Now, that didn't matter in that matchup, and if we hadn't have killed their guys, this matchup could have panned out quite differently. But pretty happy with that one. So let's go on to round 2. We're on the play, which means you don't have to worry about any pesky daisies. We can keep this. We can Faithless Looting a Thug into our graveyard, and then we can possibly grief them, and we have a Cephalid Coliseum for down the line, so we'll keep this. Now, if our Faithless Looting gets Force of Will, that's going to be a bit bad for us. But such is life sometimes, right? Okay, so we get to get rid of 2 of these things. So we probably want to get rid of our Hogaak and our Golgari Thug. And then we will grief pitching this. What do you got for us? Once Upon a Time. Sure. So this could be the Naya initiative deck. It could be elves. Plains. Okay, so this is making me suspect they are playing initiative. Okay, so what are they doing here? So they're not casting anything on turn 1 with this hand. Touch of the Spirit Realm. Does that impact us? So we can take their threat, or we can take their plow here. The Archon is a little bit annoying. So this is like a silence effect. So we won't be able to chain a load of ways of stripping out cards from their hand if they have this. But we're going to be drawing a lot of cards next turn. I don't really want them to plow our Hogaak though. We can do this and hope they don't draw one of their 8 ramp effects to play the Archon of Emeria. If they can play Archon of Emeria next turn, it's really going to hamper our Cephalid Coliseum plans. So I think we take the Archon here. This means the best thing they can do turn 1 really for them is play a White Plume, which is, you know, it's fine, but it's not going to be cutting the mustard in terms of what we're able to bring, I don't think. Because if we look at our graveyard, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to have Threshold this turn. So they're just holding up the plow, as expected. So what do we find? Nothing too exciting. This is a little bit awkward. We didn't find a way of pitching anything. So I think what we're encouraged to do here is... So we can play out our Narcomoeba and then immediately hit their other threat. Or we can play out our Thug and hit their other threat. That seems good to me. That will put the Thug back in our graveyard for next turn. So this is black and 1. Play this guy because we're going to get priority before our opponent gets a chance to do this. Don't I put target creature card? Do we want any of these creature cards on top of our library? Not particularly. It doesn't matter. It's going to get milled anyway, isn't it? So I guess we just put the grief on top. It's fine. Or we can put the Putrid Imp. Okay, so we know what they've got in hand here. Do we want to get rid of the White Plume and slow them down a lot? Or do we want to get rid of the swords here? I think getting rid of the swords to plowshares here is good. Okay, so what have we got? 6 cards. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cross these ones out. And the swords to plowshares goes away. And then next turn in our... We can Cephalid Coliseum in our draw step, but I would kind of like to cast the Faithless Looting next turn. So if we dredge the Thug, then we play the Coliseum out, then we cast Faithless Looting. Because we have 3 mana. Then this will die, but then we can then chain off the other Cephalid Coliseum next turn. Okay, so there's the Ancient Tomb. Here's going to be the White Plume, I suspect. Yeah. So you can go and get yourselves a basic Plains. They might get a mountain if they are playing the red version. Doesn't look like they're playing the red version to me, though. The red version normally doesn't have Palace Jailer in, so... Alright. So you can untap your guy, that's fine. I will get rid of his grief. 1, 2, 3... Yep, so we'll still have 7 cards anyway if we do this. And then we'll draw this and hopefully hit a Dredger. Did not hit a Dredger. That's pretty annoying. So I think we are casting this Faithless Looting right now. Like we planned to. Red, 1, 1. Should be drawing some regular cards. So we can put these 2 in the bin. Our opponent can cast the Palace Jailer next turn. Do I want to stop them having Palace Jailer on their next turn is the question here. We definitely got to get rid of 1 Thug. I think we can just get rid of both Thugs here. And then we can attack with this. And if they block, that's very good for us. So they're not going to block, which means we get the Monarch, which means we're not getting attacked for 5 next turn, which means we've got another probably turn's worth of living to do. Sure. We do not have a basic land in our deck, but we have taken the Monarch. So next turn, these Cabal Therapies will be in our graveyard, so we can take whatever we want from our opponent's hand. They might be able to get this lad into play first, but that's fine. So this is going to come in, and they're probably going to Forge, I would suspect, because game one, they're not going to have the most amount of interaction with what we're doing. Yep, so there's a Forge. Sure. A Chromox. Sure. What is this going to print? Touch the Spirit Realm, perhaps? Touch the Spirit Realm. Sure. And then they're playing the City of Traitors we know about. And they're using this to... Probably want to use a City of Traitors so they don't take damage. I assume that's why they played it this way. Okay, so they have Solitude in hand is what they told me. That guy can untap. And then in response to our Ichorid triggers, we're going to sacrifice our Cephalid Coliseum. So we got more options to choose from for bringing back Ichorids. All the thugs. This also guarantees us a dredger for our draw step. So we get this Narcomoeba back into play. And then this, we can exile the Putrid Imp. And we can exile this other Putrid Imp. We can go to our draw step. We can dredge this Golgari Grave-Troll. And how many bridges do we have here? We've got one bridge. We should have discarded this Cabal Therapy. That was another misstep, if I'm being honest there. Sure. So we go to combat. I think we attack with all these creatures. They're going to cast this Solitude. They were better off pitching the Solitude, I think, but... Touch of the Spirit Realm. Sure. Sure. So we get some bridge tokens here. And we get to cast our Hogaak when we go to main phase. We cast this. So this is black. Black. Get rid of our lands. That seems fine to me. Then we have this Ichorid that's going to die again in their turn and give us 2 more zombies. So they can hit us for 5 here. A Seasoned Engineer would be a bit annoying because they could bash us for 6. But I think we have lethal on the backswing if they do that. So this is probably going to be Palace Jailer on our Hogaak, which is fine. We will get the Monarch back very easily, which will also let us dredge. If this attacks, we block, we get 2 zombies. This is dying anyway, so we may as well use this one, right? Keep our flying blocker in case we need a flying blocker. Archon of a Mirror. Each player can only cast... Yeah, so we're down to 1 spell turn, but that's fine. We don't really need to cast much in the way of spells here. So, we get rid of a Thug. We get rid of this Grief. We get rid of another Thug. We can get rid of another Thug. And we can dredge an Imp. So we have a Faithless Looting there. So we don't really have anything that's too exciting because we made a misplay earlier. But our opponent is on 13 here. So if they block these, they take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they'll be 1 damage away from dead. But we get the Monarch, which lets us go again. So this is why we want 4 Wispmare this matchup. And these Firestorms are okay too. Because if they play a Chalice on 1, we cast Firestorm. The additional cost still happens, so we still get to put things on our bin. So that's why we don't need any Artifact Hate. We want to keep the breakthroughs for the purposes of Chalice, which means we're probably cutting our Careful Studies here. And probably trimming on dredges. And probably the Putrid Imps have to go if we're doing it this way. And we've got 2 more cuts to find. We probably need our way of accelerating. Maybe it's the Cabal Therapies. Actually, the Griefs aren't that exciting here, are they? I'd rather have the Cabal Therapies as a sack engine. Always take one of these out and just cut the one. No, that's fine. Just trying to think if we want to keep the Thug in over a Therapy, just so we've got maximum ways of dredging. Yep, this seems fine. We also want to keep our White Source in because it lets us, our Lotus Petal in because it lets us cast our guy. This hand is very close to being broken, but we have no dredger. Now, what we could do is we could just fire off this breakthrough and hope that it gets there. I'm going to keep this one. If they have a Leyline, this gives us more looks at finding it. Finding our hate piece. Okay, they didn't have a Leyline. Looks like they're probably just going to go for turn 1 Chalice, which our hand neatly dodges as well. Okay, they're just going to go for turn 1 threat. If this is an Archon, that's going to be pretty bad for us. A White Plume, sure. Now, this is obviously not great for us, but if we draw a Dredger this turn, we probably win the game. If we don't draw a Dredger, then we're going to have to work for it. We did not draw a Dredger here. So we cast this Lion's Eye Diamond. We cast this other Lion's Eye Diamond. Do we think we're going to find a... I think we can, because of the setup we have here, we can probably take 1 turn to draw a... to play a second land, so we can break through where X is 1, and then we can break through the following turn as well, which is going to be pretty strong. We're going to take a big clonk in for 5 here, but that's fine. So we're effectively on 10 life at the moment, because they're going to have the trap as well. But they didn't have a Seasoned Dungeoneer, which is nice. What are we going to play here? Another one. An Archon. Okay, so this is an annoying one that means that our little play is not going to work as well as we wanted. And now they're holding up a plow for our turn as well. That's one of the ways that we could get punished for what we did there. This is going to come in tapped now. I think we have to cast this for... Well, X is 0 here. Okay, so we discard 8 cards, which is our entire hand. Pop our graveyard up here. So next turn we Cephalid Coliseum in our draw step, in our upkeep. Yep, so we're going to a very low life total right now. But we are hoping that we can spam enough guys. It doesn't matter. Do we want to put 1 Ichorid in to steal the initiative? I'm not sure if we do. Okay, so they played their 1 spell for turn, so not playing any additional power this turn. So we're going to take a hit here. I don't think I want to bother with the Ichorid because our opponent has clearly been holding up Swords to Plowshares. So we'll let them resolve that. We might get our Ichorids back, but we'll see how our Cephalid Coliseum works out for us. Target us, pay a blue, get back this Grave-Troll, get back this Thug, get back this Stinkweed Imp, discard these. So we haven't cast a spell yet either. Yes, we'll use Narcomoeba's ability. What are we going to get rid of here? A Thug, I guess. And this one can get rid of a... it's tricky, because we're probably going to need these Ichorids down the line. Get rid of the other Thug. We go for draw step. And dredge this. 2 more Narcomoeba hits, pretty useful. Yes. And okay. So now it's our main phase. We've got some options here. We can either Cabal Therapy our opponent, or we can cast a Faithless Looting. Which of these is going to be better? How many bridges do we have is the next question. We have 1 bridge. Just the 1 bridge. I think we'll discard this, and our 1 spell for turn will be Faithless Looting. Okay, so we found another bridge and another bridge there. We can't cast the Hogaak though. So our 2 Ichorids are coming in. We have a lot of blockers. We get to steal the initiative, so that buys us a turn off of the initiative getting our way. We're not going to find anything here. Don't have a lot of cards left in the whole library there. We go the end step, these both die, and we get some zombies. Our opponent could do like pitch, cast the Solitude, and stack the triggers so that the evoke happens first and we don't get any guys. Sure. So we've got a lot of creatures here, and we can bring back the Ichorids next turn. So our opponent's going to have something pretty good to beat us here. How many Ichorids we've got? 1 Ichorid, 2 Ichorid, 3 Ichorids. Alright. A White Plume. Sure. So they get the initiative back and go into the archives. That's fine. They draw a card. What are you going to do? Block with one of our guys. Get ourselves a bunch more zombies. Now this is not going to win you the game, sir. They plow in a touch of the Spirit Realm in this guy. Sure. So I'm going to get a bunch more guys. And they're going to get something back here. What are you going to get? A White Plume. Yeah, sorry, that's the White Plume coming back. And then they're going to go into the throne. And then what they got here? Another Archon or a Seasoned Dungeoneer. We don't care about any of these things. That's fine. Sure. So they've got 3 blockers. So they can block 9 damage and take 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. So even if they have a Solitude, they're still dead here by my estimates. Sure, you can untap your guys. We're going to get back a lot of Ichorids here. We'll get back. Okay, so they've seen the writing on the wall. We're going to get them. So, yeah, we're cruising with a nice 2. That actually felt pretty smooth against the initiative. Now, if they just started that game with Leyline in play, would we have time to have beat them? That's the question. I don't know if we would have with the hand we kept. Like, it did give us a lot of looks, but again, they followed up with the turn 2 Archon of Emeria, which was a bit of an issue for us as well. So I think that matchup, it looked quite good in these games, but I don't think it is as good as it looks, because the Archon of Emeria can just massively halt us. And on the... So they probably... On the play, they don't really mulligan to Leyline, but maybe they should. On the draw, they definitely will. So if we lost this one, the game 3 would be quite challenging, I imagine, because we'd have to find the Wisp-Mare as well. But, yeah, we did make a slight mistake in the first game where we didn't discard our Cabal Therapy when we should have. We discarded 3 Thugs, which was unnecessary. So apologies for having to show you that. But we are 2-0, beating the 2 best decks in the format. So that's not a bad way to start things. Let's carry on. We're on the draw. So we do get... Do we think we can find a Dredger in the top 3 cards of our library is the question. We have 12 Dredgers, so that's like 1 in 5 cards. I think we should mulligan this one. Yeah, I guess we keep this one. We have to put back one of these. It's probably the Thug. So if we can draw a land on our first turn, we will have a wonderful time. Now our opponent might be playing some counter spells, which can jam us up, obviously. Looks like another Delver deck, perhaps. Please draw a land. One time. We did not draw a land. Let's cast our Lion's Eye Diamond. They should counter this, to be honest, if they know what they're doing. Just as a general rule, that's something that you want to be doing. Alrighty then. Let's cast my Faithless Looting. Oh wow, it resolved. Wowzers trousers. We didn't hit anything too exciting off of that, but we've put a lot of cards in our grave. Like we've got, actually we've got some Ichorids, Cabal Therapy, and a Bridge. We're set up pretty well here. Our opponent not counterspelling either of those is wild to me. Like that means they don't have a counterspell, so I'm just so used to them always having it. Especially in this meta where you really need to have some sort of turn 1 interaction when you're playing. Like they just had a Ponder. I guess they might have had like a Bolt in their hand, so they thought they had the turn 1 White Plume or Archon covered. So we're getting 2 Ichorids back. Then we are dredging a Golgari Grave-Troll. If we can deploy a Hogaak next turn, our opponent should be in a lot of trouble. A Delver of Secrets, sure. Get rid of Putrid Imp, and get rid of a Putrid Imp. Dredge Golgari Grave-Troll. Double Narcomoebas, and a Bridge. That's pretty tasty. We don't really want to use our... we don't really want to just throw our Ichorids away here. Or we don't want to throw our Bridges away, I mean. So we're going to... Cabal Therapy, targeting the aim, sacrificing Ichorid. We're going to name Expressive Iteration, I think. Feels like that's why they kept their hand on the strength of an Expressive Iteration. They did not keep it on the strength of an Expressive Iteration. Interesting. So we have a choice now. I think we Cabal Therapy them, sacrificing this guy. We're going to do the Lightning Bolt so our opponent can't kill their own guys and remove our Bridges. So we can sack this to get rid of their Murktide if we want to. But they can daze that one if they want to. Yeah, go on then. Let's just strip them of all their resources, right? Make a big enough army that we can win the game. They might daze this one because they're not going to have a Murktide if they don't. Wowzers. There it is. As predicted. Sure. So their plan is play a Murktide. Which is fine, but I don't think it beats what we've got going on here. How big will the Murktide be? 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it'll be the full size one. Okay, if they got Force of Will, I don't think that really impacts what we're doing here. So here comes the Murktide. If they attack with the Insectile Aberration, we take it because we don't actually want... We want to use our Narcomoeba to chump block a Murktide Regent, not a Delver. That's a mistake. They should keep that back because that can remove our Bridges if we attack into it. This kills anything that attacks into it, so... Alright. So we'll get rid of a Thug. And we got all these Grave Trolls. We just get rid of a Stinkweed Imp. And we'll dredge a Golgari Grave-Troll. Yes, I like to use Narcomoeba's ability. Just jumps out the graveyard. Can't cast any spells, but we can attack with all of these guys. We have 2 blockers for Murktide. And we kill them next turn. Like, they don't block, they die. But there's no reason why they wouldn't block here. It's a free block. They should be saving their life total by blocking the Ichorids, because they're going to die anyway. So you may as well save yourself 1 life point. I suspect my opponent, like many people, has not played against Dredge very much. Yeah, okay. Running on the wall and they're dead. So begin sideboarding. Same as last time. We want these Firestorms in and that's about it. The breakthroughs are probably the ones that go here, as discussed before. Because breakthroughs aren't necessarily enablers as such. They can be, but you kind of want that after you've put the stuff in. So I think we're just better off having these Firestorms. And this is kind of an all-in, putting all your stuff in the graveyard. We'd rather sort of put little bits in and see how we go, I believe. So we'll submit like this. Again, we don't want the ley lines because we're not playing a deck that's planning to go long against Delver. We're planning to race their Murktide Regents, not stop them from doing stuff. Now, our opponent has some amount of graveyard hate. Looking at the most recent Delver lists, there's some number of Singleton Grafdigger's Cages. Quite a few like double surgicals. Okay, this is a good one. And then there's also, well, it's not a good one, but it's a fine one. And there's also the, what are they called? A couple I've seen with Tormod's Crypts. So what we can do here is we can draw and discard the Golgari Thug at end of turn. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. So that tells us our opponent is definitely looking for their graveyard hate piece. Depending on what they do, depends on how we play this game out. We can Faithless Looting and just try and play some medium men. Did they find their Grafdigger's Cage? They did not. Sure. So the reason we would want to draw and discard at end of turn is because they could wasteland our Mana Confluence, whereas they can't stop the Golgari Thug going into the graveyard. So they could counter our Faithless Looting and then wasteland our Mana Confluence, and they were a long way off of ever getting a dredge. So unless we draw like a Lion's Diamond or something. Okay, yeah, we're just going to go to end of turn and just discard our Golgari Thug here. This is how you play around Wasteland, by not playing any lands, right? So they might have found a Surgical Extraction if that's what they're on. A Brainstorm, sure. So what Dredge does, which is quite unique among decks in the format, is it puts Delver into the control archetype firmly, because they have to stop what we're doing. Okay, they haven't played a second land, which is interesting to me. Pop our graveyard up here where I like it. And we will dredge this. What did we find? We did not find another thing to cast there. Another dredger. If we find another dredger, then we play the looting out. But as it stands, our best play is just to keep discarding this Thug at end of turn. We just don't want to get wastelanded off of our ability to cast this Faithless Looting with dredgers in the graveyard. Now, we might cast that and it might not work. And that's fine too. We're not going to be bringing back our Ichorid next turn because we need our Thug. Looks like our opponent kept a pretty ropey one there. So we're not going to get this guy back. Here comes our Thug. Did not find a thing that we needed. So we're going to go to the discard step. As per usual. At some point we're going to hit another dredger. And then we can try and cast spells. But I have to imagine our opponent's hand is full of spells at this point. A Delver of Secrets. Sure. So this time we can get back our Ichorid if we want to. We have one bridge. This isn't the strongest of Ichorids. Okay, so now we've got some stuff to be doing. So I think we play this one out and we cast a Faithless Looting. I don't think this is necessarily going to resolve. But if it does, it's good for us. No, we'll not pay. So we have a choice here of whether or not we attack with our Ichorid and try and trade it, or we make a 2-2. I think we just make a 2-2 here. If our opponent doesn't have a Wasteland, we're in pretty good shape. I think they would have played it on the last 10 if they did. Lightning Bolt, sure. So they can bolt their own Delver and remove our bridges if they want to. But it didn't look like they necessarily knew about removing our bridges when they attacked with the Delver on that turn that they did. We got a Wasteland here. They did not have the Wasteland, did they? Alright, so we get to put this Putrid Imp into play. And we'll dredge this Golgari Grave-Troll. And then we know they have a Lightning Bolt. So we could just hit that Lightning Bolt. I don't hate that this turn. And then if our opponent's got more stuff that we want to deal with, we can then flash this Cabal Therapy back with our Ichorid post-combat. So here's the Lightning Bolt. Oh, it's the Daze. Sure. Interesting. I thought they were just going to bolt their own guys. Okay, they've still got the bolt mana floating here. I think they're just trying to work out how they navigate this. They can bolt their own Delver. They're bolting us. Sure. So now we have a choice of what we do here. We can Cabal Therapy them. We can Cabal Therapy us to put this troll back in. But we already have a Stinkweed Imp, so I don't think that's necessary. It's a case of, would we rather have a 2-2 off of this from this or not? I think we just save the Cabal Therapy next turn in case we hit another bridge. Because like we've got the superior clock, our opponent doesn't have any lands into play. So, and they can't just bolt us out just yet either. A Brainstorm, sure. Mishra's Bauble. They're targeting themselves correctly, or are they targeting us? They're targeting us. Why would you want to see the top card of our library? I guess the top card of their library doesn't make as much difference, but maybe you can get a tiny like edge in terms of knowing what your turn could be next turn. A bit more information. The top of my library is irrelevant because it's going in my graveyard anyway. Don't know. I mean, that's a minor thing though. Okay, we can get rid of one of our many Golgari Thugs. And then we can dredge this Stinkweed Imp. Okay, we hit a lot of things there. So I think we go to attacks first. Clock our opponent nicely here. Then we'll flash back this Cabal Therapy targeting them, sacrificing this Ichorid. We're going to name Force of Will, I think. Okay, they're casting a Force of Will. Exile the Expressive Iteration. Question is, do we want to cast the other one here, or do we just want to try with our Faithless Looting here? They've got 3 cards in hand. We have them dead on the next turn. So the way we lose this game is if our opponent goes Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt on us. But we can still cast this after this resolves if we need to. Okay, so we will take a Thug. Take a Thug. Did not find a Narcomoeba, that's annoying. So we want to put back the Grave-Troll so we still have a Dredger. And we want the Cabal Therapy now in case we need to hit more of their things. So we're going to cast this Cabal Therapy, targeting our opponent, sacrificing this guy, and we're going to name Lightning Bolt, because that's how we lose this game at this point. Okay, they're conceding. Excellent. So we've beaten Delver twice, and we've beaten the initiative once, so we're 3-0, 6-0 in games. So not a bad start to the league. I'm sure it's all going to fall apart now, as is tradition. All right, let's go on to the 4th round. This hand looks pretty good to me. We can draw and discard a Dredger if we need to, or we can Faithless Looting into Breakthrough. So we keep these. We'll see what our opponent's on. A turn 1 Chalice is pretty bad for us, but they did not have a turn 1 Chalice. Okay. If they're a Wasteland deck, we probably just want to go to our end step and just discard this. This is the most guaranteed way we have of discarding this. We're just playing it like Manaless Dredge. They might even think we're Manaless. But the next turn we get to cast Faithless Looting and see if we can go to town with that. Okay, our opponent is a combo deck most likely. That's what Underground Sea usually means. Could be like a Death Shadowy type deck, but I suspect they're more likely on the Doomsday side of the thing. Back to us. So we'll dredge this guy. Put our graveyard up here. What do we find? Nothing too exciting. We do have 2 more dredges though, so we're definitely deploying our land this turn. I think we go for the Faithless Looting. I imagine this gets a counterspell if they have one. But they might just have the win next turn if they're a Doomsday player. So might not want to mess with their amount of lands they have in play or pitch one of their important blue cards. Stinkweed Imp, please. Golgari Grave-Troll, please. And then we have got to discard 2 cards. So we're going to need some dredges in there. So I reckon we're looking at a Grave-Troll. Yeah, I think we just put both Grave-Trolls in there. Then we rely on the Breakthrough next turn to get rid of everything else. I would have really liked to have been able to cast Cabal Therapy that turn. We have 1 Ichorid, and that's going to come back. We've got spare Thug in there. Okay, so this is how we can actually make our graveyard bigger. Okay, this is better for me. I can see what's going on now. I'm not going to miss any bridges like I did before. The opponent is thinking our end step. They're thinking about whether they want to shuffle those cards that they brainstormed on top away or not. Or they might have another play. So they might crack and then brainstorm. Alright, so cracked. Another underground sea. Okay, this definitely looks like Doomsday. So if they cast Doomsday this turn and have a cycler, they can win this turn. But I think if they pass the turn, we probably have this game. It's going to be tight. Oh, a Tropical Island. That's not unusual to see out of the Doomsday play. An Uro. This is going to get rid of our bridge from below. Which makes me a little bit sad. Such is life sometimes. So this can get rid of a spare Thug. We'll draw one of our Golgari Grave-Trolls. Let's move the stack over to this side. Yes, I'd like my Narcomoeba for free, please. Snuff out targeting our Narcomoeba. Sure. We're going to try and cast this. If this resolves, I think we're in a good spot. Oh, wowzers. Okay, there's a troll. There's an imp. There's a troll. And a little Thug. Let's move this to here as well. I like to have my graveyard up here. So then we have to discard all of my hand. It doesn't just automatically do it for you. Is that all of it? Sure. This guy triggers. Yes, we'll use our ability. Go to attacks. Get our 3 damage in with our Ichorid. And then we'll Cabal Therapy, targeting our opponent. Sacrificing this. Getting some zombos. Then we can rinse and repeat using our Hogaak. How many do we have in here? We've got another one there, another one there. Yeah, I think this game should be ours. I'd like to see our opponent's hand so I can try and peg what deck they're on. Underground Sea, Tropical Island is into Uro. What deck plays Snuff Out, Uro, and Brainstorm with double Underground Sea? And they fetch those Underground Seas as well. Okay, we're going to have to think about this one. So it looked like... So they gave me the impression that they were base black-blue splashing Uro. So maybe they're not on Endurance and they're on the ley lines, perhaps? It's tricky. It's a real tricky one. It could be something like a Lurin. Yikes. I really don't know what my opponent is playing. Which is a problem when it comes to doing this sideboardy stuff. Snuff out. I really don't know. Like we could board in these as we could board in some number of these as a hedge, or we could just resubmit the same deck and see if we can go hard. I think we probably want the Wisp Mares because beating Endurance is fine. It's the beating of Leyline that is something that we're not going to be able to do here. So maybe we're looking at boarding out these Griefs and just having 2 Wisp-Mare in and seeing how we go. This is a very good hand if they don't have a Leyline. I did not play a Leyline. I played a Ponder. So we get Lion's Eye Diamond around a daze, and then we can cast a Careful Study and then crack the Lion's Eye Diamond in response. Now, that does mean that Endurance kind of sets us back to square one, which is the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. The other option we have here is just discard at end of turn. That might be the slightly safer option here. I think that plays around Endurance better, so we're going to discard our Golgari Grave-Troll here and try it this way. If you're on the draw, you may as well use the free discard you get on turn 1 by not playing anything. So maybe we'll get some more information about what our opponent's doing as well. So our graveyard, we want it up here. I would like to dredge this, please. Mana Confluence. So we've got some stuff here. We do have a dredger. Let me play this out. Try and cast this. We actually would rather not use our Lion's Eye Diamond this turn if we can help it. In case we do need to rebuy through an Endurance. These City of Brass triggers are interesting. Alright, Careful Study. Do I get to do this? They did not shuffle their library, which is why I'm more than happy to play it slow. So we discard 2 cards here. So I think we're going to discard a Golgari Grave-Troll and a Stinkweed Imp. I don't want to go all in this turn. Our opponent isn't representing a big clock against us. I don't recall seeing Uro in any Doomsday lists. And that doesn't mean somebody hasn't innovated But I would rather not just get completely blown out by an endurance here. Because as it stands, we can play a Putrid Imp, we can get our stuff up and running that way. And if we can find a Cabal Therapy, we can use our Putrid Imp to do a Cabal Therapy on our opponent as well. Are they shuffling off of this brainstorm or not? Okay, doesn't look. Okay, they're shuffling in their upkeep, sure. Interesting. I still don't really know what our opponent's doing. I'm hoping to get a peek this turn. Still no freebies though. Always yield to Sea of Brass. Although if you have an instant, you can do it in response. Okay, let's try and cast this Putrid Imp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 lands in the bin, so we only have 7. No, 6. We've got 7 mana sources left in the deck, which is important for if I am going to sacrifice this Putrid Imp or not. So if our opponent is Alluring, this could be the turn they get us. They could just untap, play Alluring and combo off. So we've got here. Okay, so they're playing an Endurance this turn. So now we have no reason to do anything apart from pass a turn, and then we can pop the Grave-Troll into the graveyard at the end step. So this is why we played it this way. We've played around the Endurance. Now we know that they have Endurance. That gives us a little bit more flexibility in the next game. This is going to attack us. We're going to ignore it. Ebiseiji. Let's discard this. Putrid Imp got flying. Alright. So now we're going to dredge our Golgari Grave-Troll. We could Faithless Looting here. I don't hate that as a strategy. So I'm going to discard a card first and get rid of a Stinkweed Imp here. And I don't really want to attack. How patient should we be is the next question. I don't want to attack into an Endurance. I think we passed the turn weirdly. Like, we could try and Cabal Therapy them with our Putrid Imp. But I don't think that's worth doing. Like, if they have an Endurance, we definitely don't want to attack here, and we definitely don't want to try and Cabal Therapy here. And they've left all their mana open, which certainly suggests an Endurance. But again, we have 3 dredges in hand, so rebuying isn't an issue if they do Endurance us. Like, we can survive several Endurances as long as they don't beat us down too much. So they didn't use their 4th turn for anything. This is an interesting game, this one. Now this is a little bit of an issue, but not too much, because we weren't trying to cast any spells apart from the one in our graveyard anyway. We really need to mill over a Narcomoeba. I'm going to discard this Golgari Thug. This is so I have something to pitch to the Ichorid. Feels like they're thinking about an Endurance. Yep, so there's the Endurance. Got our Troll skeleton back. It's fine. So we found a Narcomoeba. We should have discarded our other Narcomoeba, so it got shuffled in actually. That's a slight misstep there. Yes, I would like my Narcomoeba for free. It's not really doing anything. We don't really want to crack our LED. We're holding that for a potential Faithless Looting. The more Endurances we see in game 2, the better it is for game 3, because it means they're less likely to be on the Leyline plan. Still not entirely sure what our opponent's playing. So these guys are going to come in. We're going to take 6. So next turn we're going to have to think about blocking. But we're hoping that things are going to be better for us next turn. Tarmogoyf. Okay, so this is just like some sort of like bug. So we're discarding this Golgari Thug for the purposes of Ichorid. I think we have to get one of our Thugs back. Or one of our Ichorids back. Get this guy. Okay. We'll discard this Golgari Grave-Troll. I think we're just going to go for it now and try and do the looting. They've sort of put us in a spot where we have to. We've got 4 cards in hand. Another Endurance would be a real beating. So the reason we did the Imp first was to try and bait out something from our opponent. It's kind of free to do that. So I thought we might as well give it a go. So they have a counter spell. They should have snapped off by now, right? Unless they're just away from their computer. A Force of Will, you say? Interesting. So these guys can't block, so they're coming in. Yeah, so they save themselves a little bit of life there. We get a zombie. So a removal spell on our zombie token wins them the game. But we have a better idea what hate we're playing against next time. I really would have liked to have seen their hand at some point in this game though. Baleful Strix. Okay. So it's just like good stuff. So we have to block here. We have to block both guys as well. We get a zombie here. So we can cast Hogaaks. We only have one black creature though. So we get one Ichorid back, which is really annoying. Dredge our Grave-Troll. What did we find? We have one bridge from below. This guy attacks. We have 2 blockers. And then they kill us with any of their guys. I'm pretty sure there is nothing we can do here. Sure. That's our first game loss of the night. Alright. Back to sideboard. I don't think we want Wisp Mares. I think we would rather have these ley lines to shut down the endurances here. So we need to find 2 more cuts to fit these in. I don't know if we want Firestorms just as uncountable ways on the play to put creatures in our graveyard. Not sure if that's what I'm about. Trim a couple of those. Have 1 Firestorm maybe. Sure, we'll give it a go like this. If they force the will our Lotus Petal, which seems unlikely, then we probably lose. But otherwise, we're probably okay. We get to put a lot of stuff in. And we'll keep this. They mulligan to 6 cards. So they're probably looking for an endurance. They mulligan to 5 cards. Now, if they do have ley lines here and we just get bopped by the ley line, then so be it, I suppose. But multiple endurances came into play last turn. And there's only so much space someone can have in their sideboard. Okay, so that resolved. Excellent. This can't be wastelanded. We don't want to cast a Putrid Imp because they can kill a Putrid Imp. Or they can counterspell it. Thoughtseize. So we have to cast this. Firestorm deals X damage to each of X targets. I guess we shoot ourselves. And this lets us put in the Grave-Troll and... Oh, this is tricky. Probably the bridge. Is it the bridge or is it the Ichorid? They won't bother interacting with this because the card's already gone. So they'll take our Putrid Imp here. Because all the others I want in my graveyard. We are also a long way off of being able to draw and discard our way into a victory here. I'm taking a little while thinking about this one. Which is surprising. Okay. They got there. Okay, so we'll pop our graveyard out. We can get this back if we want to. They're going to pitch cast an endurance here. We will get our Ichorid back. I believe. A Narcomoeba. Sure, I'll take that. So next time we can get our Ichorid back as well. The one issue we have now, though, is we don't have a Dredger. Which is certainly one of the problems I was slightly worried about with the way we kept our, with the way we Firestormed there. But this does give us uncounterable threats at least. Well, for one more turn we can bash for 3. Drawing regular cards is probably going to be our downfall. Maybe we're supposed to pitch. Like, one of the reasons I didn't want to pitch 2 was because I didn't want us to have both of our dredges, to have no dredges in hand in case we had to rebuild somehow. We'll get rid of the Putrid Imp here and get a little bash in for 3. So we go attacks, try and get 4 damage in, while our opponent's sort of floundering. We want to try and end this game if we can. Fatal push on that guy, sure. So we have a choice here in terms of what we do with our Cephalid Coliseum. We can play our Cephalid Coliseum out, so if we draw another land, we get to do that. But this exposes it to wasteland. Now, our opponent missed their land up last turn, which makes me more inclined to do this. The reason we'd hold it in case we need to draw up and discard. I'm going to play it. If we draw a Leyline of Diamond, we can pop our Faithless Looting, as well as putting our guys in the bin, provided it resolves. This also allows us to play around days with our Cephalid Coliseum. Like, we're not in a great spot, but we're also not dead yet. Because they've killed our regular source of damage, like our repeatable source of damage, I think we don't reanimate the Ichorids this turn. Because we'd have to lose one of them for it. And that would also mean we won't have 7 cards in our graveyard for the purposes of Cephalid Coliseum in our main phase. Whew. We can draw any of our blue spells here. We can draw Lion's Eye Diamond, we can draw Lotus Petal. So we got 4, 5, all the mana sources. Okay, so we can't draw a Lion's Eye Diamond now, which means the next card we draw is Lion's Eye Diamond. That's how Magic the Gathering works sometimes. So we're going to not get these back now. Our opponent might have been able to turn the corner here. A Leyline of Sanctity. So that's a pretty bad draw. Our opponent's got 9 turns of beating us with this guy. So the Lotus Petal's in our graveyard actually, so that's one of the cards we can't draw. So it's just the... Yeah, so it's the 12 lands to draw, or 2 Faithless Looting, 2 Careful Study, the 1 breakthrough we still have left. So we've got draws. And we will draw up and discard before our opponent gets to kill us with this guy, but they are drawing cards and it's not unfeasible they deploy another threat at some point. A Tarmogoyf looking pretty strong here because I've got all the types you can imagine in my graveyard right now. We got instant, sorcery, creature, land, artifact, enchantment. So my graveyard alone makes the Tarmogoyf a 6 power guy. With a Bloom command. I don't know what this card does. Return a land from your graveyard to your hand and drain 2. Okay. So they're just gaining a life. Okay. Sure. That takes a turn off the clock. I don't think we want to bring these guys back yet. Let's draw a land. It's not a land. Alright, we're in this horrible pattern again. I imagine on the last turn we'll draw the Lion's Eye Diamond. There's like the little rubbins there. Our opponent's playing quite slowly, but not slowly enough that they're going to time out. I'd say they're playing deliberately, maybe. Maybe a little bit slow, though. I will take my damage. Please draw a mana source. Just give us a land. Please give us a land. Because that's something they can't counter either. A bridge from play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in 2 turns' time, we can start drawing, discarding. They're just going to deploy an end of turn endurance here, I think. Yeah, sure. Our graveyard wasn't actually doing an awful lot. It does mean that Lotus Petal's back in the mix we don't really want to see. But more importantly, it means they've got a clock that's going to kill us before we get to really do much with our draw and discarding plan. So we're going to need something good here. And I'm not really sure our deck can deliver something good enough here. Grist. Sure. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it hits an insect. So we are dead on our opponent's next turn. I think we're just done. Oh, the unbeaten run has come to an end. City of Brass, a turn... Well, it wouldn't turn too late because I had the guy up the whole time. Sure, that's us done. Alright, we are 3-1 now going into the final round. A little bit sad that that didn't pan out that way. I think this matchup looks alright though, because like Endurance is a pretty weak form of Graveyard Hate. Our hand was a little bit ropey though. We can keep this. We're on the draw, so we can draw and discard first turn to dodge a wasteland. This seems fine. Our basic planes, sure. Now there is a non-zero chance that our opponent's playing some sort of like D&T type thing. So I think we're better off just drawing and discarding here, just on the off chance. Now they might play something that stops us from casting our that stops us casting our Careful Study. But then again, it's kind of done the same thing. We've only put 1 card in our graveyard instead of 2. So it's not the end of the world. So depending on what we hit with our dredge, we might want to get our Cabal Therapies in the graveyard. But we'll see what our opponent does here. Right, our opponent tanked for a good couple of minutes there to then cast a White Plume Adventurer. Interesting. If they had a different creature, they should have played a different creature, to be honest. Like an Archon or something. Okay, that seems pretty reasonable. We can play this one out. We can Golgari Grave-Troll here and Stinkweed Imp. So we got here. We have no dredges in, so we definitely have to put dredges into the bin. We're getting a Narcomoeba back with 2 bridges, so we can Cabal Therapy these cards out of our hand if we want to. We just get rid of these trolls. It's Narcomoeba back, so we can Cabal Therapy ourselves to put these 2 Cabal Therapies into the graveyard. That might actually be better than keeping this around. Sure, so if we want to, we can put this Ichorid into our graveyard for next turn. Is that worth doing? We have 1 Ichorid in there already. So we sacrifice this guy now for an Ichorid later. Or we can start attacking our opponent's hand, perhaps. I think just in case I have an Archon, we should get rid of our own Ichorid. A bit disrespectful to cast 2 Cabal Therapies, neither of them targeting our opponent, but I'm not sure what I'm particularly worried about our opponent having right now. Like, the Archon is one of the things I'm a little bit worried about, which is why we Cabal Therapy then to make sure that we at least get 2 Ichorids next turn. Their removal is generally exile based, so we don't have to worry about that. What we do have to worry about is them evoking a Solitude. That can certainly cause us a little bit of ruin. Oh, they've gone down the Scry route. He's scared. Like, I think they need a Solitude. So they put 2 on the bottom. Athalia, sure. That's fine. We've got the mana to pay if we want our Cabal Therapies to resolve. Not sure about the order of casting those spells, but you can untap your little guy. We're going to exile 2 Griefs this turn and get 2 Ichorids into play. Dredge the Troll. What do we find? We found another Cabal Therapy. So one issue here is the White Plume can trade with one of our guys. We'll pay 1. Oh, and we'll sacrifice this Ichorid. So the one card we're scared of here is Solitude, I think. They probably would have cast it if they had it, but maybe not. Palace Jailer, Arc of Emeria, Swords to Plowshares. Okay, we'll find a space to put our opponent's hand, I think. Not too bothered by these things. I don't think we want to lose our bridges here. So we're just going to let our Ichorid die. You can probably board out Hogaak in this matchup, thinking about it. It's good for chaining Cabal Therapies. So we're threatening lethal amounts of damage next turn if they don't have any blockers. We can Palace Jailer here, but they'll take 2 life for it. Archon of Emeria. This is a better one for them to cast, in my opinion. But I still don't think it's very good. There's a thing that I can't really attack into with Ichorids without losing my bridges, though. We just take the 3. We're not really under a great amount of pressure, which is a nice thing to be saying about the initiative deck. Alright. Probably going to get one of these back this turn. It's a shame. Grave-Troll. What do we find? We found another Narcomoeba. And a Cabal Therapy. That's good. And we've still got a Grave-Troll in there, so we don't need to hit ourselves. It'd be nice to put all these black cards into the graveyard for our Ichorid, though. So we're going to go to attacks with everything but our Ichorid here. How many bridges do we have? 1 bridge, 2 bridge. This is going to get us 2 zombies. Yeah, that's fine. It was only forcing through a little bit of damage, but I think that's alright by me. So we take the initiative and the Monarch. Oh, we don't take the Monarch, sorry, because they didn't play the Palace Jailer out, did they? Then we cast this Cabal Therapy, targeting our opponent. So we have to pay 1 extra. And we'll sacrifice our Ichorid, because it's the one that's dying anyway. So what do we want to name here? Do we name the Jailer or do we name the Plow? I think about what they do here. So they might plow something in response. They didn't. Elite Spellbinder as well. Sure. That'll do. How many Ichorids can we get back next turn? Just the 1, unfortunately. We're struggling with the black creatures right now. Okay, Cavern of Souls, presumably naming human. There it is. I assume if they Elite Spellbinder there, we get the Monarch off of them. Which then lets us dredge again. Which can put all sorts of things into play. So what are they going to take here? Because we get back the thing they take unless they take a token, so they should just take a zombie token, I think. And they have a choice of how much damage they want to try and send our way. Yep, we're just taking a zombie token, which is correct. Interesting. So they're giving us the opportunity to block this Archon and save ourselves. Or we can block this actually and save 3 damage. They do get the initiative, which takes them and gives them a 4/1 skeleton though. But we're just making some more guys here. Oh, Narcomoeba, why can't you be a black creature? That'd be the best. This game is surprisingly close, which is not really where I want to be as a dredge player in game 1. If we just have 1 more black creature, I think we win this turn, but I'm not sure if we can. 2, 4, so they can block 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8. So they take 8 damage this turn. There's no other black creatures. Dredge this. What did we hit? Bridge. Just kind of hit nothing there. Didn't even hit... Oh, we hit 1 black creature, I guess. So this can attack, and then the bridges will get removed. But I think that's actually where we want to be here. We stack our triggers right. Yeah, sure. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures we need to block. So we can... This trades with anything. Yeah, I think we just attack with this guy. I get to go into Throne of the Dead 3 this turn. So I need to stack the triggers correctly this time. So this is opponents, isn't it? Whenever a creature is put into opponent's grave. So these go on the bottom. And then those go on top. So we get some zombies. Then we lose our bridges. That's fine. Not ideal. But we've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've got 14 power. So they need to hold back 3 blockers. +1 for the Ichorid. Tough game this. Tough game. We did have a couple of weak turns early on that has really cost us. In our last turn, the dredges were really bad. But, like, our Exile Zone has got all of our Cabal Therapies in now. 1, 2, 3... No, there's 1 Cabal Therapy left. Okay, they're ploughing one of our guys off of their Throne of the Dead 3. So this is a problem. This probably beats us. But then again, like, if you're playing the initiative deck right now, you're the bad guy. So you're going to do bad things to people. I think I prefer the Archon of Emeria build to the other builds. I think just that guy is so powerful early on that you can really like out-tempo people just with this card alone. So this guy is how big? He's 6. So they're effectively on 16. 16 is so much. That's such a high number. I think we have to double block this guy. We'll multi-block him just in case they have anything here. Another Archon, sure. It doesn't really matter too much. It's just another guy. Another irritating creature. Get rid of Stinkweed Imp. Just this guy. Okay, a Narcomoeba was one of the things we wanted to find, so that's good. Yes, we'll use the Narcomoeba's ability. So, do we have any bridges is the question. And the answer to that question is no. Feels like we're dead here. We don't really have any good attacks. This isn't really going to get any bridge stuff. There's not many cards left in our library. We've got 11 cards and we have 2 bridges stuck in there as well. So like a Seasoned Dungeoneer kills us. But we die pretty quickly to all the things they have anyway. Not really sure how we win this one. But we can at least burn their clock a little bit and try and get ahead a bit in case we need to tank in some decisions in the next game. Because they are taking quite a long time. So we may as well try and punish them for that a little bit. And maybe make them make some rush decisions in the second or third game. What you want to do is tap your Ancient Tombs and then pass a turn. Or tap your Ancient Tombs, play Touch the Spirit Realm targeting your Solitude. That would be nice, please. Help us out. It's amazing how long our opponents think about attacking with all their massive guys. Block on here, take 4. Now, the problem with this equation is that our opponent's going to gain 6. So we're not playing like Flamekin Zealot like you used to have back in the day. The Elite Spellbinder. Sure. There's a lot of stuff on the board right now, isn't there? As we shrink this because it's not really doing us any good right now either. Exiling a card from our hand is actually alright because it means we can't draw and discard a card. But our opponent goes to the Forge next turn and the turn after they get to trap, so not great for us. But we can waste some of their time. Because it's certainly wasting some of mine. So we're at 2 Ichorids in case we hit a... we don't have any Dredger left anyway, do we? So we're just drawing a regular card. What are we doing here? Let's give them some decisions to make. Let's try and waste their time on the clock a little bit. We're playing Dredge and they're playing the initiative, so, you know, we got to be the guy. Like, we could have dredged a Stinkweed Imp there, but I don't think that's going to make any difference at this point in the game. We could have maybe had some bridges or something, but I'm just tired and cranky now. Let's see if our opponent can work out how to kill us with their massive wealth of things. Yeah, there you go. You send all your guys in. There you go. Waste a few seconds of your time. There we go. Okay, so we begin sideboarding. We want these Wisp-Mares because our opponent is playing the Leyline of the Void. We want these Firestorms because they get through Chalice if we need to. So we're probably looking at boarding out. I The Putrid Imp is relatively low impact. We kind of want the big splashy stuff going on. The Griefs, less useful than these sorts of things. The Hogaak I don't think is very good in this matchup because all their removal is like Exile. So that's not really going to have any longevity. So we brought out 2 enablers, so we can board out 1 more. So we probably get rid of a Careful Study here. And then we need to trim 1 more for the Wisp Mare. We can trim out the worst dredger. Now, there's an argument for not having the Firestorm in case, like on the play, and having the Careful Study, so you've got the maximum amount of like your really broken Lines Like Diamond hands. But I think it's just right to have the Firestorm as an option. We've got the Wisp Mare, we've got the land to cast it, we've also got the Broken Hand. This is a keep in anyone's books. Okay, they didn't do the really broken thing, so we have a choice here. We can do a turn 2 broken play, which I quite like here. So I'm going to Cabal Therapy targeting our opponent. So we don't actually care about the Archon because we're going to play the Cephalid Coliseum anyway. So I think the thing we're most worried about is either Solitude or Thalia. If they play a Thalia, does that matter? It does. Thalia, let's try that. What have they got here? Sure. Even Mind Sensor, that's a weird one. Sure. So I guess we play out this now. In case of emergency. So they can make a turn 1 Archon, but that doesn't actually impact what we're trying to do necessarily. I guess it stops us being able to do the Lines Like Diamond line. Maybe we should have named the Archon. Let's see what they play here, They play the Archon out, sure. Or maybe we name the Archon there. And Narcomoeba. How annoying. So we play this one out. It comes in tapped, obviously. We don't crack our AD because we want to use that for a Faithless Looting down the line. We will cast a Careful Study. Wowzers, trousers. We get rid of this, and we get rid of this. We can't play another spell yet, but we can cast the Firestorm on our opponent's turn and have a pretty jolly turn next turn, perhaps. So we saw the Lotus Petal on the city. Yep, and then here comes the plains. So this is going to be either another Archon or a White Plume. Doesn't actually matter too much. It'll probably be the White Plume so they can get the mana. But boy oh boy have we got a surprise for them. Let's pop our graveyard out up here again. So we're going to dredge this Golgari Thug. So what did that find us? Nothing exciting. So we can Firestorm pitch these 3 cards to kill this, this, and deal them 3 in their upkeep. And the one downside of this play means our Cephalid Coliseum is going to be harder to activate. But I think that's worth it. So they're going to forge up, and then in response we do the thing. So this is them venturing into the Undercity. So they're going to go to the Forge, I think. And they're going to target the White Plume Adventurer, and then we are going to Firestorm them. Well, they might target something else. They might target the Archon here. Okay, so we have a response to this. So we're going to cast this, targeting this, this, and this. Paying red. Discarding 1, 2, 3 cards. This is a good Firestorm. This is what a good Firestorm looks like. So we've wasted their go in the Forge. Yeah, happy about that. Archon of Emeria. Does that change things? No, it doesn't. I think we just dredge this. Okay, so we can crack our Cephalid Coliseum now. I think that's probably best, rather than waiting on it. Hold on, we've done that the wrong way. So this is sacrifice this, targeting us, and then we go triple blue. Why won't this let us do this properly? So this targets us. Sure. Okay. So Golgari Grave-Troll. Stinkweed Imp. Golgari Grave-Troll. It's a healthy looking graveyard right there. And then we discard these 3. We get 2 Narcomoebas into play. We haven't cast a spell yet. So we have a Cabal Therapy here that we can cast. And what are we going to do with that Cabal Therapy? We're going to target our opponent, obviously. How many bridges do we have there? 1 bridge, 2 bridge. So we target them, sacrifice this guy. So we know they got Seasoned Dungeoneer in hand, which can certainly get out of hand. So we're going to name Seasoned Dungeoneer. So Seasoned Dungeoneer is gone. And they got Plains. And this, sure. So we can take out the Solitude now. If we got another one. We do have another one. We can't cast another spell though, can we? That's the only problem here. Sure. So we pass turn. Alright, we need to be relatively swift on the clock here. We don't really have any actions in our opponent's turn here. Until maybe their blocking step. Did they drew the Seasoned Dungeoneer? Feels like they drew a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Yeah, okay. So they drew the best card available, pretty much. Not ideal. Just Narcomoeba going under bus. Okay, so we would like to get some guys back. So get rid of the Thug here. And the next one can get rid of an Imp, because we got 2 Golgari Grave-Trolls in there. And we get rid of another Imp. And then we dredge this. Have a little Narcomoeba come into play. And so all of our guys die to Seasoned Dungeoneer, so we attack with everything. We don't, we could have Cabal Therapied out the Solitude then. I just pressed the button to go quicker. I don't think a Solitude wins in the game here anyway. We have so many zombies now, opponents on 3. Go through their turn. Try and edge back a little bit of time here. I think we probably have time to win though. Alright. So, that worked pretty well. Do we have any changes on the draw? I think all the things that were good are better. So like the Firestorm is going to look better because they can chalice on 1. I think this is fine. There is always the choice of playing Careful Study because it's easier to cast because all of our lands cast it. But I think we are finding this. We're kind of looking for one of our other rainbow lands so we can play our Wispmare anyway. So what does this hand do? This hand beats Leyline of the Void, but it is quite slow. I think we have to keep it, and if they don't, we draw a discard. But if they mulligan to Leyline, then we've got that covered. Which they might do, considering how much of a pacing they just got. Now, if they have Leyline and a fast hand, then we'll probably lose this game, unfortunately. Alright. No Leyline. Interesting. What is their first turn play going to be? Okay, they're storming off. Storm is 2. Touch the Spirit Realm underneath it, so they've kept that in. Cavern of Souls, naming Cleric, most likely. Human, okay, so this is Elite Spellbinder? Or Thalia? A White Plume. But that's not a human. I guess they just named human for later on for fixing purposes, that's fine too. Because the only white spells are Solitude and Palace Jailer. So they've got like their fastest hand really. So we'd like to draw. What would we like to draw here? A Lion's Eye Diamond, and then next turn we draw. No, oh, Cephalid Coliseum is a good one, but it's going to take a couple of turns, isn't it? Okay, so this turn we are just discarding at end of turn to get this Grave-Troll in the bin, and then we're playing out the Confluence and Cephalid Coliseums. Now this might not be fast enough if they can just clock us. Like if they've just got a really fast hand, like I said, we can lose. The fact that they completely disrespected my graveyard is a little bit cruel. Like if they'd have had a turn 1 Archon, I could understand keeping this hand a bit more. But this is very disrespectful of the Dredge player. Like they might win because of it, which will make me sad. But I think we put ourselves in the best position to beat what our opponent was throwing down in terms of the Wispmare there. Cephalid Coliseum is a good draw. We need to survive 2 turns though. So this turn they hit us for 5. The next turn they hit us for 15. And then we get to Cephalid Coliseum. And as long as they don't Seasoned Dungeoneer, I think we're okay. That's how we lose this game. They would have Seasoned Dungeoneer first. Okay. This one is a little bit annoying, but not the end of the world. Sure, you can attack that guy. Sure, this Narcomoeba is nice. We have a bridge to go with it as well. This can buy us a turn of damages. So we play this out tapped. Or do we play this one out tapped? Does it matter? No. So we do need to find a dredger off of our Golgari Grave-Troll, because we can't afford to take a turn off doing our thing. If we take a turn off to draw and discard, I think we lose this game. So we really do need to hit a dredger off of the Golgari, which is what the Arc of Amira is doing. Yeah, you can see why. I played, I'm not sure when the video is going out. Maybe it was yesterday. I played the initiative deck. Okay, we've lost the game now. This card is too hard to beat and should be banned in my opinion, but there we go. I think both of these cards should be banned. Well, I think it's just the Rata, the Undersea mechanic. I think it's too good. But yeah, so we're in trouble here. So we have to block the Archon. We can't block this guy. And we can't blow up the Seasoned Dungeoneer. Alright. We're also getting to the point where we can't activate our Mana Confluence either. So this Golgari Grave-Troll is probably not going to do us anything good here. So we can play this out. It comes in tapped, so we can't draw any more cards. This is just lethal, so we lose the game. A sad one. So what happened in that last game is our opponent is an aggro deck, but they are such a powerful aggro deck that they could just disrespect like a graveyard combo deck and just go, I'm just going to keep this hand that attacks and that'll be fine. And it was fine for them because I had to sort of respect that they would have their ley lines. Now I could have mulliganed to a faster hand that would have been able to beat that start from our opponent, but we have to respect the ley line that they have. So there's a little bit of mind games there, but it's also the fact that it's an aggro deck that kills on turn 3 with like disruption, which is pretty brutal. Well, that's not technically a turn 3 kill. It's turn 3, turn 4-ish. But they have a disruption that is powerful in the form of the Archon. But they also have the issue that they get to have like free removal spells in Solitude, and the fact that the Seasoned Dungeoneer lets them ignore combat, lets them ignore opponent creatures. So they basically bash them for 6 with their card that they cast on turn 1. So like in that game, they paid 3 mana for a 5/5 Vigilance guy that drew them 2 cards and domed us for 5. That sort of value on a card is just too strong, and we couldn't beat it, which is sad to say. But we did beat Initiative once this round anyway. So let's have a little look at the deck. This deck felt really good today. Like that last game, I think the matchup is relatively close because we can clog up the board with a lot of guys. It kind of comes down to whether or not our opponent plays Seasoned Dungeoneer. If they get Seasoned Dungeoneer in play, then we probably lose because that card, the text on it just lets them ignore the game, basically. They lets them ignore like the fundamentals of doing combat mass and things like that. So our like making loads of bridges and going wide is irrelevant, and they can just clock us really quickly with it, which is a significant issue for us. But the Delver matchup felt great. I felt pretty comfortable with that. Now there's obviously chances that our opponent gets to play that one of Grafdigger's Cage that like maybe 50% of the Delver decks are playing now. A lot of them have gone off of it, but that's fine. I think what we did with our sideboard here, just being really focused, having the specific things, I think that was great. And whilst it didn't come up that they played a Chalice and had a ley line, the fact that we had an answer for that, I think, is very strong. The bug deck that we lost to, I think we just we got a little bit unlucky with our dredges, which sometimes happens. This deck has got a reasonable amount of variance built into it. Like it bears out over the course of so many cards that you hit your numbers and stuff, but there is variance either side of that. So you can just have all your really good cards in the bottom, like 15 cards of library, and just your deck doesn't do anything. That is a possibility. That's why we have so many things to hit. Now, is Dredge a good meta call going forward? Like you have to do really kind of broken stuff in the meta at the moment, and having a deck that can do really broken stuff that is good against Delver as well seems fine to me. That seems like where you want to be, because the initiative deck is taking up a huge bunch of, like, it knocked so many decks off of being playable that playing something like Dredge is fine. Now, obviously, a lot of people have Leyline and the Void in their deck. And, you know, we've tried to address that, and we didn't actually come up against one all day, which is unusual, considering we played 2 decks that definitely had it, and then 1 deck that might have had it. So that's interesting to me. But I like the Griefs in here, as, like, they come out a lot sideboarding-wise, which sometimes hurts your black creature count, which is a little bit annoying. But they, as a game 1 thing that you can do, it's just really nice to have this, like, free peek at your hand, then try and go off. So I think Dredge is weirdly a reasonable choice. It's fast enough that you can get in underneath some of the combo decks. If you can, like, chain some Cabal Therapies early on, you could kind of maybe get that. But again, that's why we've also got these ley lines in the board to help the combo matchup, like things like the Storm, the Epic Gamble, things like that, so we can kind of keep them at bay. So yeah, I didn't think I'd be saying that. I think Dredge is actually reasonably placed in the meta right now, but I also think that the meta is a hot steaming mess because control decks don't exist really, and we have this we basically have 2 big Titan decks going at it, and everyone else just fighting for scraps, trying to, like, combo them out and cheese people around it, is kind of how the format is. Because, like, initiative is, like, smashing around most stuff. I think the 2 white initiative cards in the deck are pretty OP, and you could play, like, you see people winning initiative games without ever gaining the initiative or without ever drawing the initiative creatures. They have to work through the bit, but that deck is fine without the initiative cards. That's a legacy power level deck. The initiative cards just put it, like, so far above and just give you, like, free wins against so many decks, which is a real problem. And I expect it to get banned. I've sold as many of my initiative cards as people will buy because I can't see it lasting for very long. But what's really scary is that Delver is still a really good deck and beats the initiative, because Delver has needed some bans for a little while because it's been the de facto best tech with a really ridiculous win rate against the meta. So we've kind of got this really skewed meta game at the moment with Delver and Initiative between them making up 40-ish percent, 40 to 45% of the meta, depending on where you're looking at and which stats you're taking into account. Which is a lot. That's including, like, the Boros initiative builds as well. So that's quite a ridiculous portion of the meta, which is why, you know, we've kind of got to do some weird stuff. And having a deck that's good against Delver and doesn't just auto lose to initiative is quite a rare thing to find, to be honest. I don't think, like, you have Mono Red Painter, for example, beats the initiative but loses to Delver on balance, and then, like, you got White Painter, which kind of beats Delver but loses to initiative most of the time. It's very hard to find a deck that can kind of compete with both, and this feels like it can. So yeah, maybe we'll have, like, a little Dredge heyday, because, like, the thing about the initiative deck is that it doesn't interact with, you know, it's not going to be countering your spells outside of a Chalice. So if you've just got, like, the really broken hand, you can just go off, and they're really going to struggle to get through your Bridge Below tokens, and you can actually put up a race against against everything apart from Seasoned Dungeoneer, maybe. But if you get on the board early enough that they haven't got the chip damage in, then you can do that, and it's very easy for you to get the initiative off of them because you have so many guys. So, in conclusion, I think Dredge is pretty decent. And not only that, it's a deck that I love with a passion, and I have built up at all times in paper just in case. It's one of the reasons I own so many copies of Leyline in the Void. I think I've got 16 copies of Leyline in the Void now, which is a bit ridiculous. So I just bought some foil ones. But yeah, always have Dredge built up, always love it. I think it's a great deck. That's where my Lion's Eye Diamonds live. None of these Storm decks or anything. All right, so we're done for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed this one today. I enjoyed this more than playing the Initiative, that's for sure. So it's a more fun deck to play, in my opinion. And I love the way it sort of mechanically does things so different to other decks. Like, we had the Archon in play saying, oh, you can only play one spell a turn. And we weren't playing spells. We were just dredging and making loads of guys. So that was pretty cool. All right, if you're still here, why not like my video? Why not comment on my video? Tell me what you liked about my video. Tell me what you want to see me play. Tell me if my outros or my intros to my videos are too long. You know, are you sick and tired of like 7-minute deck techs? Want to just be like a couple of minutes and quick stuff? Let me know, because unless you tell me, I don't know. And I'm just going to keep rambling like I'm doing right now. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. That's the best way you can help me. Once I hit 1,000, I can get money for playing these cool decks for you and recording them. And it does take quite a lot of my time and effort. So it'd be nice to be able to at least make it cost neutral. All right. Thank you very much, and goodbye.